Hello friend, how are you doing today? I'm very glad you've popped by because now you're just in time to share some arty exploration. The creative season that I'm in right now is spring, and for me this part of the cycle should be called Sprims. Spring whims. Creative spring is for following creative whims. I know I do a lot of that anyway. It's good to have a pocket of forever spring on your person, but this part of the creative cycle calls out for extra experimentation and adventure. Creative winter was all about gathering inspirations, soaking up ideas, sitting with our thoughts and our boredom, and watching where they might wander. Creative spring shrugs off the cosy blanket that we've been snuggling in and gives us a prod towards play. These days of exploration, of having a thought and following it into the real world, are perfect for when you want an Analogish art day. So here I am following a whim, testing out a thought and generally making a bit of a mess. I can do this daintily. No! This came from wondering whether, if I sprinkle mica powder onto a watery puddle on paper, would it create some fun speckly patterns? I started with green, then introduced yellow and blue, and I'm not sure my colour choices were the best. It all came out a bit murky by the end. This was probably not helped either by the amount of powdery splats that I made on the page throughout. I did actually quite enjoy those splats, but once there was so much powder sitting in a pile, I felt I needed to do more to make use of it. I didn't want to waste it. So here we go, a scraping, a scraping, a scraping. Now, I can't watch this and say that it is pretty. It is not. But I can say it was ever so fun. Swooshing around damp powder is, it turns out, just as good as swooshing around paints. Gradually made it ever more puddly and muddly, I grabbed a cloth and did a bit of dabbing to lift off some of the excess. This all made it more faint and a bit meh feeling, and at this point I figured it was time to abandon the whim. I left it to dry. It's not my favourite thing ever, but hey, if I can find some textures, I am usually happy, and this certainly has plenty of those. Another good analogy thing to embrace in spring is a tidy up and a clearing of the decks. Art is a lovely thing to make, but the pathway to doing so is fraught with practice, mistakes, and the general sprawling history of your creativity. When I went to college, they told us that we must keep everything, not just in terms of the course, but as an artist. Everything leads us to somewhere else, and an artist's path is about knowing where you've been. I can see the sense in it. Sometimes you can revisit old artwork that you've forgotten about and find new meaning in it. A piece you previously abandoned might become the reason that you begin again. However, those teachers clearly have more storage space than I do. I just cannot practically hold on to everything that I have ever made. I have nowhere to put it. So at least once every creative cycle, a time comes where I let stuff go. I still had some sheets that I had kept from my college course. And bear in mind, I went back to study art at 37, so it's not been sitting around since my teens, but it has been enough of a while that I really don't need to hold on to it. So on a warm spring day, I sat on the floor until my legs went all floppy, pulling out the bits I thought worth keeping and recycling the rest. There were lots of big sheets of paper that we had to make worksheets on, so I didn't want to waste them. I kept a few as large sheets, then ripped the rest into smaller sheets that are easier to store. There is something about tidying up a space and repurposing the things that you don't need that is very gratifying. I now have a lot more paper for new artworks that I didn't need to buy. Hurrah! This is a random one. All I can say is that I saw a ball of wool and suddenly wanted to glue it onto paper in a very slow and intricate way. I just, for some reason, wanted to see what it came out like. It was pretty time consuming, and it turned out I enjoyed the gluing bit much more than the woolly bit. The tacky glue had a lovely small nozzle on it, and it was extremely joyous to draw with it onto the paper. Hence why I stopped sticking the wool on once I got halfway through the semicircle. Also, why a semicircle? I don't know, I just saw a protractor and drew around it because it was easy. What I ended up with is whatever you want it to be. Is it a maze? Two halves of a brain? The evidence of a muddled maker? Sure, any of the above. Let's move on, shall we? Paints! Spring experiments don't need any new materials. They are perfect opportunities to use up old stuff or find new ways to use them. I pulled out a bunch of paint tubes that are winding down but still giving value and told myself to flippin' use them, Gemma. I can be very sparing with my art materials, making them last as long as I can because money-wise, art can be pricey. But also, if they don't get used, then their value is also lost. So I got a bigger flat decorating brush out because I knew this would force me to be more breezy, both with the paint and the marks I made. And then I just started plopping paint onto paper, seeing where the colours led me, trying to give my hands the lead rather than my brain. At first, I was thinking I'd use these colour sheets for collaging with, but now I'm thinking I'd like to paint some silhouetted shapes or windows over them with black paint. We'll see. My last playtime was when I found this old ghost print. It's very pale, but you can still see the faintest eye on the bird's head. This print felt like the perfect thing to draw on top of. I took out my dip pen and some emerald ink and started filling in the bird and the branches. I absolutely zoned out while doing this. It was ultra calming. Out for emerald ink. I should use it more. I really like how this birdie came out. Its feathers are a bit made up, but that's okay. Thank you for spending these art days with me. I love that we get to share creative things and explore them together. If you are having an analog art day right now, let me know what you're making. Where does your brain take you in a creative spring season? Thanks so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider tapping the like button as it really helps me out. And if you fancy meeting up for a future art wander, the subscribe button is your RSVP. Stay curious, keep making happy, and I will see you next time.